Welcome to episode 2 of the NRI Money Podcast. I am Sachin Mandot and I have Ritesh Jain with me. Ritesh is the founder of NRIZEN and Pine Tree Macro. And today we are going to talk something about Indian macros and the global macro. Welcome, Ritesh.
Hi. Hi. So this is a great chart about how India has progressed in this century. It was the 13th largest economy on GDP, at nominal GDP per capita. Nominal GDP, and now it is by 2027 it will be the third largest uh, economy in the world. Why am I taking nominal US dollar and not real US dollar is because there is so much debt in the world that countries which can grow faster than the interest rates will be having a much better growth rate in the future. So you can see this transition, and this transition at some point of time will lead to a better growth story in India.
Okay. And by the way, what is nominal rates? Ritesh, if someone
So
wants to learn about
real
it.
think about real GDP is the volume growth,
Okay.
and nominal GDP is volume growth plus price growth.
Okay.
So when you have so much debt in the world, the best way to look at growth is both in volume growth plus price growth.
Okay.
So the same chart extended as a percentage of global GDP, which was 2.7% in 2000, which is at 5% now. And by 2028, it is estimated that 7% of the world's GDP will be contributed by India.
Oh, that's a big number.
This is a very important chart. India leapfrogged manufacturing and went directly into services simply because we were not having physical infra, but we were having digital infra, and we were having an English-speaking, population. Important thing to understand is that normally countries progress first through manufacturing and then move to services, simply because manufacturing creates 5 times the jobs created by the services. That's why you are seeing jobless recovery in India. With the kind of growth which we are seeing in the infrastructure in India and the government priorities, I strongly believe that over the next few years, that we will see that job creation and manufacturing boom will overtake the service created GDP in India. And I will talk about that thing in the next few slides.
Okay. Yeah, let's deep dive into further. It's a very interesting topic to see that we are going to see 5 times more job creation if manufacturing happens.
Exactly. I'm not taking into account the AI. So this is a very simple chart. Uh,
Okay.
see the wages, rising wages in China, see the wages in India. That is why what we are seeing today is that low-end manufacturing is actually being vacated by China, and the
Okay.
low-end manufacturing is what is getting into India. Now, low-end manufacturing requires a lot of labor, and since China has gone into the middle income thing, it is vacating that part, and that part is what India is now taking. Yes, some part of that is going to Vietnam, but Vietnam is very small. India is going to be very, very large in the space which is getting vacated by China.
So, what is the low end manufacturing?
Yes,
What constitutes that?
assembly. So it is basically assembling. We will never be able to get into the high-end manufacturing. Like China has moved to EV manufacturing. It is the largest EV manufacturers in the world. Okay,
Okay.
but they're no more into the assembly part. What you look at in Apple is a very great example. Apple is going to be having a $7 billion output in 2023, and they will be $40 billion by 2028. So what is Apple doing in India? Apple doesn't make phones in India. Apple assemble phones in India,
Okay.
right? It is still say made in California, something like that in Apple, right? But it is assembled in India, and assembling requires a lot of people. So you have a lot of
And
factories that are getting opened in India, away from the metros, where you have 20,000, 30,000 people in those factories assembling things. Apple is just one of the examples.
Yeah, I think there are factories in Tamil Nadu, there are factories in Noida which are doing it, and
Yes,
there are a lot of articles that are covering how massive these factories are.
exactly, exactly. So this is just a transition which has started, and it is still in the infancy.
Okay. And we can also see something like, for example, when steel towns used to happen in India, like Jamshedpur or Vijayanagar in Karnataka or Jamshedpur in Jharkhand, we can also see those manufacturing hubs opening up in smaller places which we never heard of or which are not in
Absolutely.
commonplace.
And that is all happening because of the government focus. Make in India, make for India. I do not know whether we'll be competitive at the global level, but at least we can make in India to make for India.
Okay. Yeah.
Substituting our imports by making in India, it will reduce our trade deficit. Reducing trade deficit is equal to increasing GDP.
Yeah. I can only imagine like IT or service boom created towns like Bangalore or Pune,
Yes,
there were sleeper towns. Now, and you're saying that manufacturing is going to 5 times the boom
exactly.
of service sector.
That is a published paper on that. That is why you do not find any other country in the world which directly went into services. Services actually happen when you've gone into middle income or the higher income. Think
Yeah.
about whereas at a low end country which is at a per capita GDP of what where we are, and that is why you find that a lot of people talk about that prosperity is confined in Indian metros.
Yeah.
We have because it's a jobless recovery. Now, have you seen over the last 4 or 5 years, real
When you
estate
say
prices have
jobless
not been
recovery, what do you like? Can you expand when you say jobless recovery or K-shaped recovery? We've heard it a lot, but what does that mean?
simply because the GDP is growing, but
Yeah.
people are not participating in the GDP growth because they don't have the jobs.
Okay.
How did they get the jobs? It is because of this simple one reason that we leapfrog manufacturing and went into services. Have you seen over the last 5 years that I'm sure you'd be listening to it? Over the last 5 years, real estate prices in tier 2, tier 3 cities are rising,
Yeah.
whereas real estate prices in tier 1 cities are stagnating. Like Mumbai prices have not gone anywhere from 2014-15. Uh, Delhi
Okay.
prices have not gone anywhere, whereas on the other side, Gurgaon prices have gone up, right? Because there's a highway coming over there, Delhi Mumbai highway. Okay,
Yeah.
so prosperity will come near to where the infrastructure is being created now, and the new
And I think we
infrastructure
should
is
also talk about places like Indore, where you and me both have a connection. Now in
yes,
Indore, there are bungalows selling for 2, 3, 4 crores, and not even in the town. They're in the outskirts because Indore has Pithampur, Rao, and uh, other manufacturing hubs.
absolutely. So you will find that this is in infancy as more and more capital goes over there. These are capital intensive and labor intensive companies. Okay. Yes, I do not know what will be the impact of AI, but at the low end manufacturing, I'm pretty sure that we still have few years. Plus, there are a couple of more things happening in India for job creation, which I will talk about in the subsequent slides.
But don't you think when you said AI, India has always made the best out of these waves? Uh, AI, computers, all of, I mean, AI is new, but computers and IT, India has made the best out of all of these things. I mean,
Yes,
historically,
but something which is new,
you don't.
I am not. I'm also open to looking at in that particular way.
Yeah, there's a chart, Ritesh, that I was particularly interested in talking. So, India contributes to 5% of global GDP.
As of today,
Yeah, when India contributes to 5% of the GDP today and it becomes 7.7%, what are the global implications in terms of macro and money flow? Because you talk about liquidity a lot. What
Mhm.
happens then?
Think about it. If you are going to be 7.5%, now I'm just giving you a small example. Some other part of the world will be losing this kind of, this particular percentages, right? I'm just giving a very
Yeah.
simple example. In my view, Western world will lose that particular, that percentage to global growth. Okay.
Okay.
And if it is going to be that, and the growth is coming to India and India is contributing to global growth, then the global money from those part of the world which are no more contributing to global growth will come to that part of the world which is contributing to global growth. It's a very simple thing.
They will
And
flow
that's
into
why
our
I believe
financial
that
markets.
exactly. That's why I believe over the next few years, NRIs will be the biggest driving force of capital into India from those countries which are seeing stagnating growth. So this is a great slide from Morgan Stanley, and this is a success story which you are seeing in front of you. That in 2015, 1.4% of India's GDP used to come from electronics manufacturing, which was $29
Okay.
billion. In 2022, in 2023, 3.1% of India's GDP comes from electronics manufacturing, which equates to $105 billion. And by 2032, according to Morgan Stanley estimates, $600 billion of India's GDP, which will be equal to 8%, 8.6% of the GDP, will be coming from electronics manufacturing alone.
Wow.
It's a
One
very
one
simple
percent
example in
to
front
eight
of you, the
percent.
country's transition taking place. We used to import everything on electronics in India. We are becoming an exporter of electronics. I'm seeing this thing replicated in one more sector which I was looking at. But see in
Okay.
front of you, 8% of the GDP coming from electronics manufacturing alone. Think about it.
That's a big chunk. That's a really big chunk. 8%, and 8% will be of the larger pie. It won't
Exactly.
be of the same $2 trillion
Absolutely.
pie. It would be of the
Yes, it
larger
will be
pie.
of 2032 estimated GDPs.
Yeah.
India's estimated GDP is 8.6% of that estimated GDP. So this just see the headlines coming in toy manufacturing in India over the last 3 4 months. I'm pretty sure people are not even looking at that thing. Toys manufacturing shift from China. Global toys manufactured to start manufacturing in India. Why toys can be the next big bet in manufacturing. Global toy majors shifting focus from China to India, exports jump to 239%.
Yeah. And this is one thing that I always used to think, that toys were never made in India by the time I was in India. I left
Yes,
India in
yes,
2021, and I think that's happening now.
absolutely. I see the same thing happening in engineering, where we are taking Russian oil
Yeah.
and we are sending huge amount of engineering exports from India to Russia.
Okay.
Indian engineering exports to Russia are up more than 100% in the last month.
Oh, that's a big number.
It's a small base, but it is still. So can you see that, what you saw in electronics manufacturing, you've started to see something in it, in toy manufacturing, you started to see in engineering exports. You started to see that we are talking about defense exports from India,
So
right?
once you learn manufacturing, it flows into other sectors.
You have
Once
to,
we
you
learn
see
services,
success
yeah,
and you are replicating. You learn from that is how we happen in services also, no?
yeah. We learned one part of the service and we expanded to almost every other part of the service because of our English speaking population.
Exactly, and the money keeps on coming in the sector. It gives you money to actually develop across the sector.
Yeah. Yes, it will be more like a snowball effect of, once you learn manufacturing, you are going to get into more sectors than just electronics.
Absolutely. So again, headlines over the last 2 3 months. Young population, as we all know, can be a boon or can be a challenge. Okay,
Yeah.
and we know that unemployment is going up in India. Youth unemployment is so there's not running away from it. But here, can you see the German minister announces new law to attract skilled workers from India? Taiwan wants workers. So they are, no more talking about Middle East. We are
Yeah.
talking about Israel having bringing workers, Japan bringing workers, and they're all bringing workers from India. This is going to be your next export.
The next big
This
export
is
apart from
completely
Middle
different
East.
than Middle East. Yes, this is completely
Yeah.
different than the thought process you have in your mind when you look at your India's people going and working in Middle East.
Okay. Totally
So
makes
this is
sense.
an
And
amazing change. So yes, we have unemployed. We are trying to do something on manufacturing side. And now, can this be a big export of India? And obviously, these people are NRIs and they'll be, popularizing India globally. And Indians are the one which actually gels in any society, any global society very easily. Okay. They contribute to the society. And that's why you're finding all this.
yep.
This is one sector where government has understood. There cannot be any AI in this sector. Okay. This is one sector where I believe that huge amount of government impetus will be there after the next election. But can you already see we moved from 14 airports to now 148 airports? Can you see the length of the national highways? This is all is required. We are talking about obviously ecotourism, health tourism, and then what happened after the Ram temple? Okay, this opened a completely different eyes. Different kind of tourism to India. And
Yep.
tourism is one sector you require large number of people.
Yeah, in fact, in this trip to India, I noticed that there is an airport near Ajmer, which is
Mhm.
functional. There are airports in Bhavnagar, Jodhpur, Rajkot, towns that were not on aviation map, I think 10, 15 years ago. They're all there.
Such in one economist told me 15, 20 years back, make roads, growth will come. Roads बना दो,
Yeah.
growth अपने आप आ जाएगी. And I still remember those words. Roads
Yeah.
बना दो, growth अपने आप आ जाएगी.
Yeah. And I think we need all of the three. We don't need just one or two. We need all of them.
Yeah, so services will continue to do well.
Yeah.
On data centers, we are going big time.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is what we are trying to get into now, that our feet getting weight on that thing. And then the people's export to developed world, which will become part of their society, and maybe, because their productivity, their population is not growing. Okay.
Yeah.
Fertility rates are going down dramatically in the Western world, South Korea, Taiwan, the entire Europe. Okay. So this is where they need people.
Yep.
And Indians are happy to fill in those shoes. So this is one sector where we know we want to do manufacturing a lot, right? But manufacturing requires electricity. EV requires
Okay.
electricity.
Yeah.
Energy transition requires electricity. Unlike fossil fuels, most of this solar, wind, whatever we talk about, even nuclear, it's they're intermittent, electricity, and they require stabilization. They require new grids. They require new kind of transformers. They require new kind of wires, electrical wires. So this is why, and data center capacity, you've seen what is happening in India. Just for information, 5% of Mumbai's entire electricity is now consumed by data centers.
Wow.
So if we want to manufacture in India, if we want to do transition, then as I've said many times before, you need to focus on electricity. And electrification, as it is one of my macro themes of the decade.
Your macro themes for the decade is electrification.
Is
Yeah.
electrification.
Yeah. Uh, and that's why also you keep telling that the current index of India does not represent the future India, right? There's a
Yes.
statement that
So
you keep saying.
absolutely, and that is one of my takeaways from this presentation. So the next slide. In today's world, after COVID, governments have become very powerful. Governments are deciding winners and losers. So I take anything coming from government, I take it very, very seriously. So this is Viksit Bharat vision of Prime Minister Modi. And just if you just read this thing, okay. A key objective of Viksit Bharat is to enable every citizen to participate in the economy. The economy that PM Modi envisions is strong, inclusive, and full of job and entrepreneurial opportunities. This entails implementing policies to encourage investment, advance economic growth, and foster innovation across various industries. The government's dedication to creating an environment favorable for business expansion and employment generation is demonstrated by the focus on programs such as Make in India, Digital India, and Startup India. With the support of digitization, homegrown manufacturing, and a thriving startup community, Prime Minister Modi hopes to raise millions out of poverty and realize the nation's full economic potential. I'm taking it on face value.
Okay.
Everybody who's an investor needs to take this thing on a face value. And see the keywords over here: manufacturing, employment. President Xi did the same thing 2 years back in China, where he stomped out the speculation from the society. He wanted to make an equal society. And before that, the Gini coefficient means inequality was very, very high in China.
Okay.
Can we see something like that thing after the budget?
Yeah, because
I'm
the
strong.
word is inclusive, they've put in
Yes,
inclusive, yeah, and full of jobs.
I'm strongly of the view that
Yeah.
whatever is coming after this election, and if we have the same government, we will have a completely different, thought process and the outcomes than what we are currently seeing. Okay, I'm
Okay.
taking this thing at face value.
Yeah.
So, this last two slides, India the future. India leapfrog manufacturing and went directly into services. Services don't create as many jobs as manufacturing, hence jobless growth. India now focusing on transitioning to manufacturing and hence focus on infra. Jobs requirement and market winners are going to be completely different. We don't need so many techies anymore. We need people with real skills. We don't need laptop workers anymore.
You
That was
need
past.
factory workers.
Yes. The way you don't drive the car looking at rear view mirror, but people invest and take career decisions based on rear view mirrors. And the last one after this on markets. So what is the market outlook? India is now buying energy in non-USD. Okay, it is in their own currency, some part of that, and that has insulated India from oil price volatility. Government focus on this transition from services to incremental manufacturing should be taken seriously. Manufacturing and energy transition is not easy and will require lots of energy. Hence, electrification continues to be a macro theme for India. This transition also means that sectors which are rightly placed will continue to do well in spite of any market cap. I'm not getting
That,
into this debate of small
yeah,
cap and
that's a big
large
code
cap
that you put
at all.
in, irrespective of the market
Absolutely.
cap.
Yes, I don't care about the market cap. I am going to invest. Investors should be looking at those companies irrespective of market cap. Finally, in this brave new world, listen to the government and regulators. If they don't like anything, don't touch. If they are focusing on developing some part of economy, then it is a no-brainer.
Basically, follow the liquidity, follow the regulators.
Absolutely, and follow the government.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it. I think we're done.
So
This was the last one. Just follow us on. You can also subscribe to our updates on NRIZEN website, and I can be reached on Twitter handle and even on LinkedIn.
So we'll put all of these details even in the description of this video.
Okay. Yeah,
Please
sure.
reach out us on any of those.
Absolutely.